into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human. God damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
2-3 Anders Lee. Now you go.
1, 2, 3, Jake Flores. Well, like, you know, if you had glasses, people would call you Jake Four Eyes.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay, that's a good sound check. All right, fuck it. We'll just start. This looks good. What's up, everyone? I'm back. The prodigal son has returned. The rumors are not true. I did not die, and the podcast has not been covering up my death like the Queen of England. I did not die getting a Brazilian butt lift in Latin America. I've just been on tour and been very busy, so I've been sparse, but I'm back. Hello, everyone. And Anders Lee is here.
Anders Lee here.
Here's how I want to open the show today. Here's something I just thought of. It's Bam Margera, and he's going, "Ape's gone." And he's talking about his mom. "Ape's gone. I just woke up. Ape's gone." All right, that's what.
I thought for a second that was an NFT reference.
No, it is, because the guy, remember the guy who said all my apes are gone?
Oh, okay. God.
But it's Bam talking about his mom. Going,
edit that riff out. That was bad. This is a bad way to start.
No, I did mushrooms this morning, so if I'm making jokes that don't make any sense, it's because my brain is all reorganized and stuff. That's probably what's going on there. It made me laugh.
How was your trip?
Like my trip or my mushroom trip?
Well, yeah, I guess both, but the mushroom trip.
It was incredible because I got back to the place I'm crashing right now in the middle of the night last night, drunk, and was like jonesing for a cigarette real bad, and I couldn't find one. Like I was turning my bags inside out. Like I fucking know I have a cigarette left over from somewhere. And I didn't find them, but I did find mushrooms that someone gave me in San Antonio, which was like the third show of the tour, so like a month ago. And I was like, oh, I forgot I have these. So I took them in the middle of the night, and then like I think I fell asleep, and then I just woke up tripping like this morning, and I had a really nice time. I feel like I missed kind of some of the experience, but it was actually really cool to just wake up and be like, whoa, what the fuck is happening?
What's it like to sleep on mushrooms? Do you have like trippy dreams?
Well, dreaming is already trippy, so it's like yes and no. Like it's almost like a waste of part of the experience. But I feel like maybe because dreaming it consolidates thoughts and stuff like that. Like maybe it helps or something. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I feel really good today, so something good happened. But I'm not sure. I think it was the mushrooms. I think they were very good for you, and you should do them and reorganize your brain from time to time.
Spicy portobello. I haven't. I've tried them, but they never did anything to me.
Really?
Yeah. I think I'm just already. My brain is already shroomized. It's already in the place where mushrooms bring you. Or maybe I probably just didn't take enough. Or like if it's like your first couple times, does it take a while to kick in like weed or?
Yeah, maybe it's something like that. I don't know. I'd say give it the old college try again if you would like to experience the experience. But right now I'm living in the afterglow of a mushroom trip, so I'm like evangelical about them. Like everyone should do this, but I might not feel that way in a week or whatever. But right now, Anders, I think you should do mushrooms.
Hey, I'm open to it. I mean, I've kind of stayed away from stuff like that over the past few years because I've been on SSRIs, but I have decided I am just sick of every year, sometimes if I'm lucky every 2 years, sometimes every 6 months, getting new insurance. You have to completely start from scratch, take like months to get a new doctor, take even longer to get the prescription, try out the different prescriptions, and then it has to kick in again and again. Like, I'm just so sick of dealing with the fucking rigmarole with like getting meds that I'm just done. I'm just gonna, do the stuff that you're supposed to do, meditate and shit like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why like that shit is so popular, because the system is just so completely fucked. Like, even if you wanted to be like, give me all the pharmaceuticals and turn me into a Zoloft circle, it's like fucking hard to, man.
Yeah,
and it's dangerous to be going on and off of like meds like that, like psychological meds and antidepressants and shit. But you're forced to. It's fucked up, dude.
right. Yeah, I should just not do that because, like, God, I feel so bad for people who have, serious diseases. Like, I have a bunch of Mark Fisher disorders. They're not like stuff like life-threatening illnesses that I need the drugs for. I'm just sick of it. I'm just not going to do it. I guess I'm going to do shrooms instead, microdose.
Well, you never lose your prescription for mushrooms, because the prescription is just knowing really cool people. And
okay, yeah, I can't get that. Sorry. Fucked.
It's cool, man. You know me.
Can I get a reference, or what do you call it for the fucking script?
Yeah.
For a cool person? Can I get referred to a cool guy?
Yeah, I'll get you in. I'll connect you with one of my weirdos, and then we'll get you all set up. I'll be like, no, man, he's cool. That's how I talk to my doctor, who is the guy who sells me mushrooms. No, he's cool,
cap,
man. Yeah, no cap.
Like no cap, yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's what they call the mushrooms, the caps, right?
No cap. I see what you did there.
See what I did?
Yeah. Hell yeah. And I love it, man, because I'm in mushroom brain, so I'm all green lights. Everything's positive in the universe. Great joke. No cap.
I just watched this Hulu documentary series about Sasquatch that wound up being actually about weed. This, I will say, and it's a spoiler alert, but it's a spoiler alert for your benefit, dear listener, because this thing is the biggest boner killer I think I've ever consumed. But it's related to drugs. It starts out, the first episode is about how a group of men in 1993 in Northern California were killed by Bigfoot. And people say, definitely Bigfoot. They interview a scientist. This guy's an actual anthropologist. And he's like, straight up, I don't believe in Bigfoot because belief implies some uncertainty. I know 100% that there is Bigfoot. And he explains how, and he makes so much sense because he's like, hey, think about how many times you've seen a bear carcass, huh? Doesn't happen. They're secretive, right? They're very aloof. So are Bigfoot. They're even more aloof, and they're more rare, the Sasquatches, the North American land ape or whatever they're called, than bears. And he makes a very convincing case. And then by the third episode, it becomes clear that it's the Bigfoot thing was just a cover story for these migrant workers who were killed because of, feuding cartels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. It's an important story about a social issue that we should care about, but not what I fucking expected when I press on for the Sasquatch documentary.
That's mad interesting. I like that guy's argument about how he believes in Bigfoot is almost theological. He's describing faith, kind of,
Right.
You do not question Bigfoot. You're believing in Bigfoot is what fills you with light, is just surrendering to the idea that there's Bigfoot.
Consign yourself to it being true. It's hard to argue with that. He says that he's seen a lot of footprints that can't be anything else. But as I think we discussed this before, what is Bigfoot or Sasquatch? It's just an animal that we haven't found yet. That's not that crazy. There's, I'm sure, thousands of species that people don't know about yet on our Earth.
When there was only one set of big footprints, that's when Bigfoot was carrying you. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's weird though. That story's odd because that's the first time I've ever heard a story about Bigfoot where he's killing. I kind of thought he was supposed to be a gentle. Everyone's stop hunting him. He's a gentle woodland creature or whatever.
Yeah, I think that. Well, this one is, I think, pretty clearly not true. But there were people who do believe in Bigfoot who do say that, oh yeah, they're nasty, and there's this mountain like there's a really dangerous mountain. That's where the Sasquatches are. But then again, you also find out that it's where there's, people growing weed and shooting each other.
Do you know about the myth of the Wendigo?
No. What's the Wendigo?
I might be getting this wrong. I think it's like a Native American cryptid, and the idea, it's really cool. It's like kind of like a Bigfoot type, but it's if you eat people, you turn into the Wendigo. So it's like a myth to keep people from practicing cannibalism. Like, the more human you consume, the less human you become, and you turn into this crazy, scary, like Bigfoot type thing.
I don't know if we want that getting out in this day and age. I don't know if we want too many people knowing about that, because they're definitely going to try it.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is definitely looking into that and wanting to become a Wendigo.
If I give you a horse, will you let me eat you? Oh man, did you guys talk about that on the show at all? Have we done a podcast since that happened?
Cannibalism?
No, it's Elon Musk's sexual assault scandal.
Oh no, I think that broke after our last recording.
Let's talk about this for a minute. It's
sure?
pretty funny. I mean, sexual assault obviously is not funny, but the way he did it is just so pathetic, Like, so there's a woman who was like, I guess they have like flight attendants on SpaceX or whatever.
So weird. Okay.
He made her get like trained as a masseuse. It like wasn't part of her job. He made her get trained as a masseuse and then was getting massages from her. And then one day she came in, and I guess he was just like wearing like just a tiny towel or something, and was like, "Today's the day I'm going to ask for the full massage, wink, wink." And then she like didn't want to do it, and so he said, "I'll buy you a horse."
That's where the horse stuff is coming from. Okay.
Yeah.
I see people talking about horses. That's what it is.
It was his move. Richest man in the world. I mean, he wasn't the richest man in the world at the time. I think this was in 2016. But still, like, you hear that and you're like, damn, man. Like, you can't just hit on someone normal or something. Like, that's what you think is going to...
It's so sad because, I mean, there was the Met Gala a couple weeks ago, right, where he had his people ask out some woman who was there, I forget, like an actress or something.
Yeah.
And she was just like, no. And they like they had the gala change the seating so he would sit next to her, and the conversation went nowhere, I guess. So there's that. And then also with this thing, it sounds like he heard rumors about Epstein's jet and was like, well, I'm a billionaire, I couldn't do that. And then he just sucks at it. He can't even pull that off. Even when you're fucking rich as shit, you can't even get a spacecraft full of women who will fuck you.
He wants to go to Little St. James Planet and like one up Epstein by being like, well, I'm doing it on an asteroid or whatever. It's just so funny because like it almost seems like he's like crippled by being rich in that weird way that like, you're out of touch or whatever. You're not a real person when you're that rich. So and he's got to on some level be jealous kind of like normal people. Like, it's so embarrassing that he has to have tons of resources dumped into like trying to talk to women.
Yeah, he has a whole team, I bet.
Yeah,
playing the dating game for Elon.
Fucking sucks, dude.
The weird thing is, I'm looking here now. His defense of himself is, if I were inclined to engage in sexual harassment, this is unlikely to be the first time in my entire 30-year career that it comes to light.
Yeah, no shit.
Basically saying, like, I don't harass people, but dude, if I did,
you would know because I'm really good at it. He also said, I think part of this is that they paid her off with like $250,000 or something. But he said, he was like, if she really saw my penis, then she should name one thing about it that no one else would know to prove. He's trying to do like an Atticus Finch, like weird lawyer move, like prove, like, and he said, like, for example, a tattoo or a scar. And it's like, are you telling us that you have a tattoo on your dick, Elon Musk? Or like, what do you mean? All dicks all look the same, man.
He wants people. He is inserting his penis into the news. That's how fucked up his ego is he wants his penis to be talked about by millions of people.
Probably. I mean, the other part of this that's interesting is like a week before this story broke, he was doing that weird thing where he was talking about like, I'm going to be a Republican the next election or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was just trying to make that into an issue, it seems like, to try to blot out like this. And then he also just kept tweeting like, the political attacks are going to come for me. So I think he tried to set up him switching parties as like, in his mind, I guess the story would be, he announces he's a Republican, and then that causes all of these underhanded political attacks, which this story would then be consumed into, and he would go, oh, it's just one of the many political attacks that are happening because I was brave enough to, whatever. Which right. But it's like, I was just so clear that he was doing that. It was like, not really that brilliant of a PR move. I mean, it just seems like he came up at the last minute or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think there's something kind of shifted, I feel like, with the grab him by the pussy tape, because this just came out this week. Apparently, Trump was actually a lot more worried than he let on about that thing, and he seriously considered dropping out of the race.
Wow.
When that happened, yeah. Because no one knew, like, Trump was unprecedented in some ways, right? In most ways not, but aesthetically unprecedented to have somebody just not apologizing for their gaffes. Like, we're a gaff-obsessed political media, and he was someone who created gaffes every time he spoke, and like ridiculous ones, and just would keep going. And he pushed himself to the precipice where he didn't even know what was going to happen after he refused to back down from this, like admitting to sexually harassing and assaulting women, and he jumped off the precipice and landed on his feet. And so now that's like the move, I guess.
Yeah, but Elon didn't do that. Like, it would kind of make more sense if he had just, maybe that's why he was like, I'm going to become a Republican or something. But like, he didn't. You're right. I mean, Trump is insane because he was the first person to just go, oh, you can just not do this thing, and it completely upended all of the history of politics or whatever. But like, Elon didn't really use the Trump playbook there. He did. Like, he seems like he doesn't have the stomach for it entirely. Like, he does kind of want to be liked, I guess, maybe is where it's coming from. So he's like, no, I have to fight this and try to make it seem like it's not true or something. I don't know. Yeah,
but it does seem just from his responses that a piece of him relishes the attention.
Yeah.
And that's why his penis comes up somehow. Like, that seems like that would be the last thing you should try to bring up if you're accused of sexual harassment publicly, is your penis. Like keep that away from people's thoughts and, saying it. But it is, he's an attention hound.
I know. Now it's like in my head, I keep thinking about like, what is the tattoo? Like, is it like, here's what I think he's got. Like, maybe a little Coco Pelli just by the side or something. The little guy with the flute.
Gotta Google that, which I'm doing now. I have a whole setup here.
You'll know when you see it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like
that's a Coco Pelli. Okay,
he's got it at PacSun or something.
What is the circumcision practice with Afrikaners, like Dutch South Africans? I wonder if they do it or not.
I don't know. That's a good question. And if you had seen Elon's dick, you would know the answer to that. Destroyed with fact and logic. Yeah.
The erect penises look exactly the same, as people don't realize. It's funny, like, people think that an uncircumcised penis just looks that way even when it's up and at 'em, which is... sorry, I'm uncomfortable with myself talking about this. We can move on.
We've gotten pretty heavy into dick territory. We should probably move on and talk about what else is happening in the world. Because I've been on tour, you just catch, like, I'm sure you guys have talked about a million things that I've only caught like tiny wind of, and now I have to like sit down and catch back up. So like, illuminate the news for me, because like I caught a little bit of this Fetterman guy. He seems cool. I'm watching
John Fetty Wap.
I've been watching Pete Buttigieg talk about how we can't subsidize baby formula during this baby formula crisis because he's like, this is a capitalist country. We're not fucking communists.
He said that? I actually missed that.
Let me find the exact quote. I just retweeted it, and it's pretty fucked up. I kind of wanted to talk about this because the logic of it is just kind of fascinating to me. He said, okay, asked about Biden's slow response to the baby formula shortage crisis regulators knew about in October, Buttigieg said, let's be very clear. Let's be very clear. This is a capitalist country. The government does not make baby formula, nor should it. Companies make baby formula. And I guess I'm fascinated by this take, this message, because it's he's doing this circular thing that is so central to American kind of worship of capitalism, which is we can't do that because that would be socialism. And socialism is bad. Why is it bad? Because it causes people to starve. Right, that's what the root logic is that it just it leads to bad, the bread lines and stuff. But it's we're literally experiencing a bread line type thing here, and the way to solve it would be socialism. And he's like, but we can't do that because that's socialism. You know what I mean? You could explain this with the meme of the two guys yelling at each other. I think I've seen a bunch of them.
Oh, the Harley, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Chopper Rangers, whatever that show is.
Definitely one of those.
Yeah, I remember that brings to mind a conversation I had 10 years ago almost about I had a roommate who was a capitalist, I guess, or a believer in capitalism. And we were talking about Glass-Steagall, as a lot of my conversations 10 years ago went. Glass-Steagall Act, which separated commercial and investment banks, and I was like, what's wrong with doing that? We should bring that back. And he was like, yeah, there's a sound reason for that, it makes sense, but it's just not appropriate for the government to do that. It's just not the government's role. It's inappropriate. It's like flashing a penis to an unwilling party. It's just the sense of decency that extends to the economic sphere. It's a philosophical thing, but I do think Buttigieg is acutely aware of these sort of parameters for what he conceives as the acceptable American position for government and private markets. You can't take over. And even Bernie Sanders has said this he gave his speech about what is democratic socialism, and he's like, we're not going to take over the grocery store down the street. It's about the things that should be decommodified, like healthcare. And that's an okay place to start. But just thinking about it more deeply is something that is, politicians obviously are going to try and avoid. But it's just interesting to me how Buttigieg's father was literally a Gramsci scholar. And I wonder what he thinks of Gramsci or Marx, or if he knows anything about it, if he's just completely rebelled. But the thing that gets me is when his father died, because he died right before he started running for president. And I remember reading an article about it at the time, and they asked his colleagues at Notre Dame, where he taught, and they asked them, this is clearly a notorious Marxist scholar. He's a big deal and sort of left-wing academia, and he's a communist. And then the colleagues would be like, whoa, he's not a communist. I know that guy. He's not a communist. No, he's not a Marxist. They just knew him as a guy in the faculty lounge or whatever.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, so he can't be a communist, right?
Right. Yeah. But it shows how untethered the Marxist thought has gotten from the actual movement, and the people talking about these things are from anything that has a kind of hold on American culture or American life, that the people who are advocating these things or talking about them, or talking about things more deeply, what should the state be doing in general? What is the proper role for this stuff? Can we completely reconsider that and start from scratch with something else? the people who are saying this are not even recognized as saying that by their own peers and colleagues in academia.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting the way that like libs can kind of just isolate stuff and go like, this is, if you disconnect it ideologically from the entire movement, it's like, oh, you're just talking about this one specific thing. Was it his grandfather was a Gramsci scholar?
His dad. His father.
Do you think when Pete Buttigieg was being born, his father said, the old world is dying, a new world is struggling to be born, now is a time of monsters, and that's when he took the baby out. And then his little rat-faced baby was, like,
like, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah,
actually, his friends, because I watched a eulogy they did for, what was his name? I already forgot. Professor Buttigieg's first name, but the professors were doing a eulogy for him, and he died again right around the time the campaign was beginning, and there was just like this contempt for the younger Buttigieg that kind of like came out in the talk, which was talking about his work translating Gramsci, but they were like, as Professor Buttigieg, by the way, I don't know what the hell Buttigieg is. Our friend would never call himself Buttigieg, which is a name that Mayor Pete did focus grouped and decided that was the best way to pronounce his name.
That's insane. He does have it's incredible that he overcame that somehow with just the power. I mean, he didn't win or anything, but the man obviously focus groups everything, and for him to be saddled with that insane name, but also be determined to be a politician is just bananas. Only he could have done that.
Yeah, I feel like maybe he kind of turned it into a conversation piece or a way to stick out.
Yeah, he made those stupid shirts that say boot edge or whatever.
Yeah.
Before we move on, this thing you were just talking about kind of reminded me of something that I should probably mention on the show. I talked about it on Why You Mad, but less people listen to Why You Mad, and this is pretty juicy. So you reminded me of something that happened on the tour a few weeks ago. I guess it was a couple weeks ago when we played Comet Ping Pong Pizza, right? Ooh. So we did 2 sold-out shows at Comet Ping Pong Pizza, which was really interesting because Comet Ping Pong Pizza is actually a cool punk venue, and they immediately, when I showed up, at first I started doing jokes about adrenochrome and stuff, and then I immediately read the room and was like, these people are fucking tired of this. Don't do the joke about the venue, you know what I mean? Everybody knows that, right?
Yeah.
So we played these shows, and they ended up just being really, really sincere, cool shows where people just fucking came and packed it out, and everyone's wearing masks and all this stuff, and it's everyone's got these punk ethics, it's very cool. The venue treated us great, but a lot of local weirdos came out, and one of them was a woman who came up to me immediately after the show and said she loved my set, and her name was Charlotte Clymer. And
oh my God, okay.
She was like, you were I loved what you were talking about, and I was like, thank you. And she's like, what's your name? Do you have a website? Are you on Twitter? Can I follow you on Twitter? And I was like, you could if you hadn't blocked me on Twitter.
You said this to her?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do because she was just point blank, what is your Twitter? And I was like, if you look it up, it'll say you blocked me. And so she unblocked me, and it was really weird because I didn't know what to do with this situation because she was being so nice, but she kind of came with an agenda and immediately started going into lib messaging stuff and started doing this compartmentalizing thing that you just reminded me of with that he's not a communist, he reads Gramsci or he's a nice guy or whatever. She kept doing all this stuff where she was saying yeah, no, we don't have that. We're not different at all. We all want the same thing. We just have different ways of getting at it. And she's like, no, but for real, the Democrats, we do need to talk about like raising the minimum wage and workers' rights, but also, you know, all this other stuff. And it's like she did this thing, like I think it's really insidious, where you reduce like the labor stuff to just like one of a buffet of issues, you know, and then you go, yeah, we do that, we do this or whatever, because it's like, if it's not actually ideologically based in the liberation of the working class, if that's not the whole fucking project, then you're just paying lip service or whatever. And I had to eventually be like, you know, thanks for coming out, like, cool, like, this is fun, but like, you know, I do disagree with you about certain stuff. And she just kept pushing it and going like, no, we don't. And I'm like, but yeah, like I started having to explain what I'm talking about now. I'm going like, I'm sorry, but we do. And like, you know, I didn't know what to do, because I was like, if I'm too nice with this person, that's bad. Like, this person is responsible for some pretty heinous shit and his works on behalf of the ruling class, you know?
Right.
But then also, if I'm like, put my middle fingers up and I'm like, hell yeah, Twitter, dude, this ain't it, chief, and fuck you, and all this shit, it's like, I don't know, maybe I'd lose a chance to put a bug in this person's ear or something. I don't fucking know, man. It was real weird. And then I think she got mad at us. she eventually fucking went around and tried to do this with everyone, and like everyone, like Eve 6 is all left-pilled and stuff, so like everyone kind of was like, nice, thank you, but we're communists and you're not. And like, she eventually, I think, got pissed off at us on Twitter. It was really
all
weird.
worked out.
Super fucking weird, man.
It's funny you say that, because almost a year ago now, when I was living in DC, me and my buddy Nathan Luft, shout out, we had like a joint birthday party at Malcolm X Park, and Charlotte Clymer was having a birthday event. I think it was her birthday, I'm not sure. She was hosting it just like a few yards away from us, and she like cordoned off this little square and had like all these chairs and a nice picnic table, and there were all these people there, and she was kind of holding court, and we were just like trying not to be too obvious about looking at her, but yeah, I was given balloons, which is very uncharacteristic of my girlfriend buying me balloons, which was shocking. And then I was very embarrassed to be given balloons, so I tried to give them away to her little like party square, and no one would make eye contact with me. I was just like, hey, does anyone want these balloons? And these people just like pretended I wasn't there. They were like,
they blocked you in real life with their minds.
Yeah. But yeah, DC's
Birdie
weird.
Bros tried to give us balloons, which is, it's a dog whistle that means they think that you're
full of hot air,
a clown. I don't know. Yeah, full of hot air. Yeah, that's the type of jokes we make in the dirtbag left or whatever the fuck.
That's right. I will admit too, I did, and I felt weird saying this. Oh, man, yeah, I'm no longer in DC, so I can say this. I don't know why I didn't publicly announce this, but it just felt weird. I lived right by Matt Iglesias, actually.
That's crazy. He fucking retweeted me the other day, man. He tried to do the same shit. These people all try to go like, no, we're actually friends. Yeah, I had this fucking viral thing pop off where I said, what would your job be on the centrist commune? Because everyone was doing the stupid, what would your job be on the leftist commune thing. And he said like, propagandist on. I said something. He said what he is, and he was like, "Isn't this like funny?" Like he tried to make a joke out of it, but it's like, no, this is like entirely the problem.
Right. He is just someone who takes like counterintuitive positions on stuff, and just like, is all over the place, but as like a branding exercise.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I'm trying to find him, but he is like, I believe, friends with this guy who's running for city council in DC, who's just like kind of the same thing, but for the city, but for like local DC politics, and is like a YIMBY, which means, of course, yes, in my backyard. So they just want to build, regardless of if the building is being done for stuff that most people can afford. But yeah, I saw him setting the table with his child as I was walking through this alley in a garage. And it was actually a very touching moment. And I felt really bad afterwards because I was like, why? Because I stopped, walked back to make sure it was him, and then kept walking. And I think he noticed. And I was like, gonna make fun of him or like tweet about, oh, I just saw this egg, man. And then I just felt bad because it was a very touching moment of him and his child setting a table.
I hate it when people are humanized like that.
It's weird. Yeah, and I would see Sagar and Jetty and Jennifer Rubin in Trader Joe's. It's a weird town.
I don't know.
If you're addicted to Twitter.
When I was in DC, that just vibe, all these people being around was making me so uncomfortable. I don't know how the fuck you lived there, because I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I don't like knowing that any of these people could just be around at any given moment. It's
very weird.
I want to go back to NIMBY. I think that we should change NIMBY and YIMBY to being about butt stuff. You know?
Oh.
So if you're like not in my backyard, that means don't try it. Don't stick a finger back there. But if you're like a YIMBY, you're like, yes, in my backyard.
Right. No, see, I'm a YIMBY, but I'm like a left YIMBY, which means that I'm actually a NIMBY. I don't want anything in my backyard.
Yeah, I follow you. What else is going on, man?
Well, see, speaking of Comet Ping Pong and
world-class segue,
pedophilia, child sex trafficking. Someone who is a potential, this hasn't been proven as a fact, but I think in my gut, I believe it to be the case. I haven't seen anything disproving it. And we're in America, not the UK, so we can say this stuff. New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez is someone who, according to the San Diego Union Tribune, federal prosecutors say, this is a few years ago, but they say that he cavorted with underage sex workers. The media kind of just like glossed over it was a big deal. I remember it broke like 10 years ago, and everyone didn't know what to do for a while. And then when he was running for re-election, they trotted out all the fact checks on this and decided that it's disinformation. But I think that was a little too hasty for me. I really am very suspicious. There's also like some corruption charges involved with this guy. But anyway, the point of bringing this up is he is currently seems to be responsible for the Biden administration's policy or non-policy on Cuba right now. Because, of course, one of the best things Obama did as president, maybe arguably the best thing.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's that and the Iran deal. There's like two unilateral almost, well, that was ratified, but two close to being unilateral foreign policy moves that were then quickly reversed by Donald Trump. But these were at the time, pitched by him as sweeping changes to American hegemony, and we're becoming a more cooperative state. And all of that was true. It was good, right? It did not change the fact that U.S. is an empire, but it was like at least a good thing that he was opening up things with Cuba, allowing them to have a tourism industry and promoting that. Actually, I happen to think there was some deal behind the scenes with. You remember when Jay-Z and Beyonce went to Cuba?
Yeah,
I think that they talked about that beforehand with Obama, and he was like, "We're going to announce this policy, and you might help get the ball moving in the right direction if you go on a trip there with your gal."
Yeah, that seems like a PR type thing.
Right. I think that's maybe what happened. But anyway, this was all done taken away in a heartbeat when Trump became president, and just, all these sanctions put on. It became like domestic or a terrorist state or something like that. It became listed as a terrorist state, I think, something like that. And Biden hasn't done anything on Cuba. He agreed to when he was running for president, but so far there's been very little movement there. And politicians always do this thing where they're like, "Well, not now,"
Yeah.
it's bad politically now, and you want to believe them sometimes, but in this case, it's hard to because it's Biden. But they have said on May 16th, the State Department said it would rescind some of the Trump sanctions and sort of start to, actually develop a policy on Cuba, because it's kind of like, which one are you going to choose? The one that was in place when Biden was vice president, which is like the opposite of what we have now, or the one with where the last guy had it, who might be coming in again and putting it right back there. So why not keep it warm for him, right? If we know Trump is coming back, I guess we don't want to shock the system too much. It's maybe what they're thinking.
Interesting.
But two of the people who are really holding this up, and this is suspected that some of it is happening behind the scenes, but we know that publicly these two freaks are deadingly opposed. Deadingly, I don't know if that's a word, but they're steadfastly opposed.
Dead-ass opposed.
They are dead-ass opposed to everything about Cuba cooperating with the Cuban government. And one of them is Cuban Bob Menendez, who probably had sex with children in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
I don't have evidence of that. But again, you can't prove that it's not true.
This is America. We're allowed to say things. This is not a British podcast where you can get in trouble for that sort of thing.
Yeah. Freedom of speech. They don't have that in Cuba. They can't. That's what he would say. Is like, I'm glad you have the freedom in this wonderful country of ours to accuse me of being a pederast.
Yeah, but then we as commies know that in Cuba you actually have the most freedom of all to accuse people of being a pedophile because you have material resources with which to do so.
Right. Yes, you need that pedophile. That's what healthcare gives you. It gives you the state of mind to see all the pedophiles around you.
It's actually like a paradise down there. They're all accusing each other of being pedophiles all the time. There's so much freedom of speech. It's great.
Right. But so basically Menendez is, Senate's evenly split. So everybody in the Democratic caucus is kind of like their own little king or queen. And it's rumored that he's like threatening to just not support him on other stuff if they reverse this Cuba policy. So this whole thing is being held hostage by one likely pederast who, it's amazing that they did not, that the DCCC or the DSCC, Democratic Senate Campaign Committee or whatever, did not push this guy out of the running in 2018 when his last reelection was, because he's like corrupt, is terrible politics, and is in a freaking blue state where I don't think people in New Jersey care about Cuba that much, like punishing the Cuban people as much as this guy. I mean, Florida, I get it. And that's another thing, is Val Demings is a congresswoman who is running for Senate against Marco Rubio. So she's really hitting the blame Cuba, anti-Castro drum pretty loudly. So the Florida is always like races where they just compete over who can be angrier at Cuba. It's never like, I actually think it's good or whatever. Right. Yeah, but so in all cases, we have like a very small number of reactionary people who are just dictating America's foreign policy and thereby punishing people in Cuba who are just trying to get syringes. They have vaccines. This has been a little bit since I checked in on this particular thing, but for a while they had a bunch of vaccines because their government invested in, creating their own vaccine.
Yeah, they made like 5 of them, right?
Yeah, they had a bunch, and they went to other countries and helped in other places, but they don't have enough syringes to administer the vaccines because of sanctions imposed by the United States.
Yeah, it's fucked up. They can't make them out of coconuts or whatever down there.
Right, not yet. Although it is one thing I'm really interested to see.
What if it was what if they rolled it, in like a cigar paper, and that's how they administered the vaccine? That'd be cool. Do you smoke it?
Apparently, you can smoke kratom now, so you can do that with the vaccine. I went to a tobacco shop today to get some, and the guy was like, "Oh, what you want? Vape cartridge?" It's like for kratom, and he showed me you can vape it.
Insane.
Apparently.
That's bananas. I'm sorry to hear that because it sounds like you're going to overdose on it.
But apparently, so AMLO is saying that he's going to boycott and maybe get some other countries to boycott this conference, the summit. Where's the summit? The Summit of the Americas, which is going to happen in LA next month. So they could get Nicaragua, Venezuela, some other countries to not go, which I don't know. Maybe that would exert some pressure, but
interesting. Wow, I'm in LA right now. If I stay for a month, I can go to the Summit of the Americas. Maybe I can fuck some shit up there.
You should see if you can open for it.
I'll do a bunch of jokes about cum and shit, and then be like, and now the Summit of the Americas.
That's what you should have gotten good with Charlotte Clymer. She could probably set that
up. Probably, yeah. Too bad. She didn't reblock me. She just didn't follow me. So
okay,
potentially I could tweet at her and go, can you get me opening for the Summit of the Americas, because I have a gambit which I think might be more powerful than AMLO's move. Which is, if I bring everyone together with the power of laughter and X-rated blue comedy, then we'll reopen Cuba or whatever.
Yes.
Weirder things have happened. Trump is president,
Yeah, that was funny. In other news, we got the domestic political thing over here in the city where I have returned. Did I ever announce that I'm back in New York City? I'm back in the New York groove.
I don't know. I think you have, but I like when you say it. Every time I like hearing it. It just says back in New York. What a classic fucking thing to be,
Right.
New York City's back. And Anders is back in New York.
Right. Mayor Adams needed the swagometer to go up by just a little notch.
Sorry. Sidebar. Yeah. Did you see the thing he said at that fucking commencement speech or whatever? What's it called when you speak at a college?
Commencement, yeah. What he said,
he said,
turn your haters into waiters at sit at the table of lunch.
You could tell that he had he wrote that and he thought it was really clever and he wanted to end on it because it was a special artistic flourish for him. And he's like, you can see him smiling as he gets to it, and he's like, I'm going to slip it in. It's going to be the last thing I say, and then I drop the mic and run away, and no one can stop me from having said it. It's an insane thing to say. He said, it's like giving a normal speech and going, believe in yourself and work hard, etc., and so on. And then he gets to it, final line, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. Let your haters become your waiters when you sit down at the table of success.
Oh, at the table of success. That's right. I don't know. I called it the table of life.
The table of success, Anders. And, if you maybe worked a little bit harder at bussing the table of success, you'd know a thing or two about what it looks like. I don't know. I'm just trying to continue on his metaphor here, but it's very confusing because he's like a customer at a restaurant.
Yeah, I'd actually like to speak to the manager of the restaurant of success.
Yeah, could you put some sugar packets under the table of success because it's wobbly? I've mentioned this on the show before. I literally think I waited on him once, so this totally tracks because I am his hater and his waiter.
Did he do that thing where he's like, I need you to fix the wobbliness by putting sugar packets?
Man, it's a blurry memory, but I distinctly remember this fucking person. He was really mean, and he was like, hey, does he drink? Do you know? Is he sober?
That's a good question.
Because this guy was drinking whiskey, and he was like mad about the poor. I remember. And
He's mad about the poor?
like he wasn't enough or whatever. He wanted
I
I
thought you meant like the poor people.
No. The poor people, which is how I refer to bartenders. Poor people, get it? Because they pour drinks.
Yeah. I don't. Oh wait, yeah. It says he is sober. Okay.
What's it say when he got sober?
I mean, I doubt it was his whole life. But and it could also be like a thing he says. So technically, he's like he eats fish,
right? Because he lies about being vegan and shit.
Yeah, and he lies about being not being single. He lies to his. He gave a. This is actually another commencement speech, and I think we almost definitely read this on the podcast. But he gave a commencement speech in 2015 where he was like. Where he was like addressing the ladies in the crowd and like thinking about like your appearance and how the world sees you. And he's like, as a state senator and borough president, I have the opportunity of dating some of the most beautiful women in the city, which is no, like that's not the top of the sex food chain. Is a state senator?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. But then he's like, if I'm taking you out to a Michelin star restaurant, I don't want to see a 2-word tattoo on your neck that says "lick me." That was his example that popped into his head.
I think that rules. I would love to go on a date with somebody with a "lick me" tattoo.
Yeah, that'd be hot. But so his publicist or one of his campaign directors or something quickly contacted whoever was reporting on that speech and said he misspoke because, yes, at the time he was in a relationship, but when he was giving the speech, he was referring to an older version of himself who was single. He was not single during that.
Dude, he's an artist, you know? I mean, he's just like freestyling up there like Robin Williams or something. And so you can't hold everything he says to that level of accountability, because if you do that, you lose the art. You know,
right?
If you want to hear the song "Don't Dissect the Bird," and like he's up there doing comedy, you know, and like you gotta, Robin Williams stole some jokes, but he made new shit out of them, you know, and like sometimes some of the things you say in your act, you know, you say, "Oh, this happened recently." It didn't happen recently. It happened 4 years ago when you wrote the joke. Or you do a joke about being single, and then you do a joke about being in a relationship because you wrote both of them over the course of your life. And at one point you were single, and at one point you were in a relationship. So, you know, give my man artistic license. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Mayoral license.
Mm-hmm. Because mayor's got to have swagger.
That's right.
Does he say swag or swagger?
I think he says both, but I've heard him say swag.
Okay.
But he's got to have swagger. The way he walks is... I watched the 60 Minutes interview with him, and it is impressive the way he carries himself when he walks. It's like, I could never walk that way. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but I could not be comfortable with that sort of stance. You know,
he
walks like
he walks like he's Steve Harvey doing stand-up, you know?
Yeah.
Striding across the stage in that huge suit.
Right. Yeah, I was just talking about this today. Like, a year ago now, everybody was worried about, Mayor Andrew Yang, no, it's going to turn New York into fucking Bitcoin heaven or whatever.
Yeah. And to replace the Statue of Liberty with a bored ape.
Like Planet of the Apes, yeah. But I was always way more worried about the current fucking guy we got because he was a cop, number one, and also like he has the connections. Yang had no connections to like organized labor or the NYPD.
Yeah.
You know, they could have weaseled their way in there and told him what to do, and I'm sure he would have abided by a lot of it. But Adams, because he knows the institution in and out, he knows exactly how to avoid like accountability for cops and all that shit, which is, yeah. But the good news is I do think there is at least a 30% chance that he will get indicted for something as mayor.
30%?
And like, yeah, I would say 30%.
Cool. I like
which
it.
Is, yeah. And plus, like, I don't know if the left could get it together to beat him. I mean, it depends how you define the left, but I think he could be taken out potentially because last year he
Electorally,
won.
you mean? Just
Just
to be clear.
Yes, thank you. Good caveat to add. Legally or electorally. Well, both I guess are legal.
Sure.
In a sense, but he won with a plurality of the vote in the first instant runoff election in New York City history in the primary. So he does not have like this command of the people of New York that the media loves to say like he's this political genius or whatever. He obviously ran a shrewd campaign, but like it was like 20% or something like that. There's like a million candidates in 2021. And it was a fucking confusing ballot. Like I voted IRV my first time I ever voted, actually, in Minneapolis. I still don't understand it. It's a very confusing system, and honestly, pretty fucked up that they only do it for the primary. That's the insane thing to me.
Yeah.
Until you consider why it's that way, and it's basically my theory is that this is a way to stifle like progressives in DSA.
Yeah.
Basically, because, and I remember this was a live debate a couple of years ago, because traditionally IRV, instant runoff voting, that's a good thing for the left, right? It's it mitigates the spoiler issue, yada yada, but in primaries, it's a way to like just create a shit show and allow someone like Eric Adams to squeak through,
Yeah.
right? Because they don't even. That's the most transparently cynical bullshit thing about it to me is we don't have in New York City an instant runoff general election. It's only for primaries. That's so suspect.
That is a really good point. I remember when it was happening, I was like, why? This can't be good. It's not like they listened to the DSA people going, we need ranked choice voting and stuff. I think you're right.
Right. And it's if it were not for that, then I don't think Eric Adams would be mayor right now.
Yeah. I think he wrote in on the table of luck, personally. He was on the bar stool of luck, and it landed him at the table of success, and he attributed it to the table.
Right. Yeah. Well, we got to throw the table over on Adams. Actually, tables in New York politics have been. This is a great segue coming up. New York political tables lately have been filled with maps that they are dicing up. They're cutting them up. Eric Adams' cronies probably are involved in drawing little districts on the maps, and then people will come in and throw them out. So basically, the census happens every 10 years, right?
Okay.
It is 2022. It's been 2 years since the 2020 census, and New York State is finally getting around to setting the new districts in place. They should have done this 2 years ago, but they drew all these districts, and they were drawn to protect incumbency in Albany. And the Republicans, of which we forget there is a Republican Party in New York, they were challenging it. They've been challenging them. They've been suing about the unfairness of the maps. And so a judge has ruled that all of the state Senate maps, the U.S. House maps had to get thrown out, and they got redrawn. And the primary got pushed back to August. So you got an assembly primary on the same day as gubernatorial and lieutenant gubernatorial. And then you have the state Senate and Congress. It's like a fucking huge shit show. But speaking of sus stuff, too, because there is a lot of sus stuff in this state's political situation. But there's this guy, Sean Patrick Maloney, as I like to call him, who's a Irish lawyer, happens to be gay, and is head of the DCCC, actually, and has decided to run for someone else's district. So basically, he got redistricted and all this stuff, and he's in District 17, represents parts of the Hudson Valley. And then there's this other guy, Mondaire Jones. He's actually pretty good. He's a progressive, groundbreaking candidate, gay black guy from the Hudson Valley who was able to get elected in 2020. And most of his district, Mondaire Jones' district, has become the 17th. And Sean Patrick Maloney was just like, yeah, I'm going to run for that. And without telling Mondaire Jones, he just said, I'm going to do it. And so now, instead of challenging him, which people expected Mondaire Jones to do, he has decided to come to a completely new district called the New York 10th, which is part of Brooklyn and then Lower Manhattan, and run for that instead, where he's never lived. And he says, this is where Stonewall happened, and this is where queer people have sought refuge in these borders of this lovely 10th congressional district, which was literally, drawn up yesterday. And he's talking about it like it's this historical fucking monument to progressive America or whatever. But also running against him in the 10th, the fighting 10th, is Bill de Blasio. So,
did you see the guy who's running against him?
Bill de Blasio?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be running against Mondaire Jones. It looks like de Blasio may not do it, but he has. So there's some strong indications that de Blasio is running for Congress.
I just vaguely saw a story earlier. I think I might have been getting it wrong. Something is going on with de Blasio being challenged in some way by this quote unquote anti-communist who's like he looks Asian. Something is going on where he's like I don't know. I can't find the picture. He was wearing a crazy M. Bison hat in his picture, and I was like, what the fuck? But I have not done enough research to properly explain this, so the homework for our podcast listeners is to look that up and learn about it yourself.
Right. Isn't that fun when you can, yeah.
Anyways, thank you for supporting the show. Listen, my brain is melted. I opened for an alternative rock band, and
maybe you hallucinated that.
Maybe I did. Maybe this is something I saw in a dream I'm describing. I don't know. Well, hey, man, I think we just did a podcast. Is there anything else you want to get to before we wrap up?
I mean, that was basically it. Moral of the story is Sean Patrick. Oh, the other thing about Maloney is this is why he's so sus to me, is because he's doing this. And also in 2018, he ran for attorney general. Zephyr Teachout was the front runner. She's like an anti-corporate lawyer, clearly the progressive choice. She's going to win. He decides to step in, and to this day, no one understands why he did it other than to just sink her campaign.
Yeah.
So he's clearly doing some behind-the-scenes bullshit.
Maybe some under-the-table of success deals have been occurring.
That's right. Yes. Sean Patrick Maloney is a success table flipper. He's a bad guy. And he also said that Mondaire Jones was not ideologically aligned with this district, that he just basically took from him, which is code for he's black. Because he did better than Biden did, I believe, in 2020, Mondaire Jones. And yeah, it's kind of hilarious. They both have crap on their hands as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, just one little sneak peek into the shit show that will be this year's New York state and federal elections.
Well, I look forward to seeing how it plays out as I slowly reintegrate myself into society like someone who has been in prison or in the circus. That's what it feels like right now.
No.
I do not remember how to normally interact with people and how to not live on a bus and stuff. But I'm getting back. I'll be back soon.
All right. As I always say, turn your haters into openers for you on your alternative rock tour across the country.
That's true.
Turn your haters into stand-up comedians who open for you on your alt rock tour.
Turn your detractors into your benefactors when you sit down in the booth of loneliness or something. I did a few of these the other day. I was doing this as a bit. It's real fun to do.
Were you on shrooms?
No, this is just regular old road madness. just going crazy in the bus, and we were laughing about this fucking Eric Adams thing, and then coming up with turn your
bandmates into handmaids.
when you sit down at the handmaid's table. I don't know. Turn your bartenders into
hearts and blenders. Turn your co-hosts into provosts at the institution of comedy.
Turn your podcasters into pod racers when you sit down in Sebulba's car. I don't know. I think
turn your mayors into pears when you squeeze the juice out of this guy's career.
Look, man, we all make fun of Eric Adams. We all hate him and stuff, but I don't know how to do what he does. Sometimes you got to respect another artist.
Turn your senators into predators when you sit down at the Bob Menendez backroom table at a slimy little bar in the Dominican Republic.
That was excellent. I don't know if you have to turn them into predators, though. It kind of sounds like.
Right. Turn your predators into senators. There you go. See them at the table of success. That's how they do it in America.
Yeah, hell yeah.
American politics.
Okay. Do we have anything to plug this week?
Good question. At Andersley here on Twitter. Dursley1 on Instagram. You can message me on either of those apps if you would like assistance with naming your band. I'm still doing these. You can Venmo me. What is my deal again? $5 if you just want a one little name, and then for $10 I'll go more in depth. I'll give you up to 5 names, and I'll work with you on the name. I'll get it nice and good. Feel free to pay me more than that too. But yeah, just send me some of your music, and I will find you a name.
Okay. So Anders, I've got this band.
Okay.
There's 5 of us. What should I call it?
Eve 5.
Eve 5. Absolutely excellent. And I'll open for them. I'll open for Eve 6 as Eve 5.
You'll open for Eve 5, and then you'll be the 6.
Okay, cool. My handle on everything is Feral Jokes. I never plug my handle. I wonder if I would get more followers if I did that every week like y'all. Feral like an animal, jokes like jokes. I don't really have anything coming up except for when I'm back in New York, I'm going to be in this thing called Digital Void Fest that's in the next week or so. I'll post about it and stuff. And other than that, my plugs are leave me alone. I am very tired and have been around a lot of people, and I want to go home and lay down and pet my cat. So just take it easy on me, guys, for a little bit. I just want to play Elden Ring and eat ice cream and chill. So fucking relax, all right? I'll be back soon. I'm sorry I didn't mean to snap at you, but I'm stretched pretty thin here. And take mushrooms. Also, my other plug is mushrooms are good for you. Okay.
Turn your listeners into glisteners and take mushrooms at the podcast of love.
Turn your spinach into it's finished at the end of the podcast. All right, it's finished.